Welcome back. I am your instructor, Dr. Domiko L. Cunningham, and let's continue building our Ferrari here inside of Maya 2015. So, in the last video, we ended off and we had this polygonal door that we had created. It says polygonal door. Well, I'm going to keep my poly door. I'm going to make a brand new layer, and I'm going to call this polygon ver. So polygon version. And I'm also, oh, I can't put ver. That's an invalid because there's a space there. Yeah. So took the space out. And what I want to do is I'm going to hide that layer, and I'm going to build this with NURBS. I'm going to show you how NURB objects work. Well, NURBS are just basically lines. So to build a NURBS object, you need a bunch of curves. So I'm going to show you how to make a curve. You can make two types of curves inside of Maya. If I come here and look at my create, and I'm going to go to CV curve tool, I'm going to go to option box. You can see the option box that I get. I'm going to pop this out. So my CV curve tools, you can see that they can be, the curve degree can be linear, two degree curve, 3 cubic curve, 3 Bezier curve, and a 5 degree curve, a 7 degree curve, and then I can either have uniform or chord length for the knot spacing, and I can have multiple end knots, right? So if I come in here and I do this, if I click with this tool, 1, 2, 3, and I have this on 3 cubic for my curve degree, and you'll need to make 4 points to get a 3 cubic curve. You'll need to make 2 points to get a linear curve, and then 3 points for a 2 degree curve, 6 points for a 5 degree curve, and 8 points for a 7 degree curve. So you'll see how that works. So if I come in here now and click away, you can see that, look, there's my curve. And I have a curve. It's nice. It's been built. It's great. All right, there's my curve right there. There it is. Told you. It's a curve. If I right click on it, I can see that I've got sub objects for this curve. I've got control vertices or control vertexes, which are CVs. I've got edit points. I've got a hull. I've got an object and still object mode, and then curve point. What you'll be working with the most is going to be your control vertexes, and that's these guys right here. They look similar to vertices because they are like vertices, except they deal with the tangency of the whole the entire line. And you can see they're affecting the tangency of the line by just moving 1 or 2 control vertexes, unlike polygons that are very localized in the way that they work and move and interact. So the other type of curve in here is the EP curve. I'm going to go here to my option box, and you'll see, look, it has the same settings. I can do linear, 2, 3 cubic, 3 Bezier, 5 and 7 degree curves, uniform spacing, and chord length. The only thing that's missing is the multiple end knots. Is the only thing that is missing from this tool. Now the cool thing about your EP curve is that if I come in here and do 1 and do 2 and then hit enter, this is a properly formed curve, and you can see, look, it has all 4 of those. If I right click on the one down here, this has 4 control vertexes as well. The difference is that your control vertex tool, your CV tool, lets you draw your CVs directly where you want them. Your EP curve tool basically lets you put down 2 edit points and then generate a curve based off of where those 2 edit points are at, and that curve is also takes into account what degree the curve is supposed to be, and it will just generate you a curve. So I'm going to hit EP because I'm going to be doing a lot of straight line curves. So 1 here and 1 here, and hit enter. I'm going to hit G, repeat the last command, and I'm going to hold down the C key so I can snap that to that curve. And then I'm going to click the other one right here, hit enter, hit G to repeat last command. I'm going to hold down the C key to snap it to that curve. And then here, and then enter, G, hold down C, snap it to that curve, and then snap it to this curve up here, and then hit enter. So all my curves are in there. If I select all of these, I'm going to come in here and say I want to modify and center my pivots. Hit W, and I can see there's all my curves. I'm going to drag them all out in the top view. So in the top view, they are where they're supposed to be at. They're pretty cool. They're sitting right there. Amazing, right? Amazing. Not really, but it kind of is. So I'm going to come in here and recreate. I'm going to still use my EP curve tool and just put down 2 points and hit enter. Now I'm going to right click on that curve, go to control vertex, select these 2 control vertices, and just drag this just like that so I can get this lined up. And select. And I'm going to move this down. Go to control vertex mode. And I'm going to move this down. And then this down. Alright. So that's going to be right about there. Because I'll be using this to cut this in a little bit. So let's pull this back and pull this just like that. Pull this one out some. So this one here, select it. Let's go to object mode and then duplicate it. And I'm going to pull this up to the top. Actually, I'm not. I'm going to get rid of that. And I'm just going to draw a new one because I manipulated it so much when I was drawing it. There, hit enter, right click, CV curve tool, grab, drag this out, select. I'm going to duplicate that, control D to duplicate that curve, and then move this curve back here, just like that. Go to EP mode, and then pull this in a little bit, and pull this in a little bit, and in a little bit. And I'm going to make sure where these guys are sitting at. So let's grab them, and I'm going to say modify center pivot points and pull this up. And let's actually rotate this the right angle and continue to pull it up. Right about there. And then this one right here, let's just go ahead and drag it on up to right about there. So if I look at this in perspective, let's look at what's happening here. I'm actually drawing my door, and you can see the door being created as I'm drawing these pieces. You can see my door kind of coming together as these wireframes. And I'm going to go ahead and actually, I probably shouldn't have did all of these. I'm going to delete these 2 on the side because this one right here, if I hold and duplicate this, this is going to come like right here. I'm just going to use my scale tool to flatten this. Actually, let's not do it that way. Let's center my pivot first and then flatten this out just like that. That way it's still curved like this, but it's also meeting that way. So you can see what's happening with this. So you can see it's sitting where it needs to sit at. And I don't think I need this curve. Yeah, this one isn't needed. So let's go in here and make some more curves. And I'm going to do it this way so it's easier to see what I'm doing and manipulating as I'm making these curves. So I'm going to come in here and go EP curve tool, hold down the C key and snap these. Hold down C and snap them. Hit G to repeat process. Hold down the C key to snap. G to repeat process. Now you have to make sure that these are actually snapped together. If they're not snapped, then you're not going to get what you want. So I can see I've got the curves for my door. So this is kind of what my door looks like in 3 dimensions in wireframe. So I'm thinking about wireframe, right? Thinking about how this is made in wireframe. So what I want to do is I want to change over to the surface set. If you hit the F4 key, the function key at the top of your keyboard, you can jump into surface mode, and you can see right now I'm in surface mode. And I've already drawn my curves. My curves are drawn. I've already got curves drawn. So I need to take the curves and I need to create surfaces. And if I come in here and detach my surface creation menu, I can see that I can make a bunch of different surfaces. So if I came in here and I selected these 4 and I said boundary, you can see, look at that, I got a boundary surface. So this is now a NURB surface. If I come in here and select this, and this, and do boundary again, I've got another boundary surface. I'm going to grab this guy right here, and this one, this one, this one, and then I'm going to boundary that again, and let's grab all this down here, and do another boundary. So you can see, look at my geometry. My geometry is nice and clean, and it's really not a lot to be able to get this done in NURBS. I know a lot of people, they scoff at or they don't understand how to use NURBS objects, and I'm here to tell you that NURB objects are fantastic if you understand how to work with them. And I'm going to go back in here and go to my EP curve tool and hold down C to snap, and then I'm going to put this one right here, and yeah, let's just do that. So G, see the snap down here, and then this right about here, and then hit enter. Now I'm a little bit weary. I probably shouldn't have, actually let's undo those. Probably should draw it from my top view, just so it'll have the angle that I want. That's probably the biggest thing figuring out with NURBS is what angle to draw them from. That didn't really work out the way that I wanted it to. Let's try it anyway. So, control vertex. Yeah, it's not really going to work the way I want it to work. So, this is one of those cases when I'm going to use my CV curve tool to actually draw my points where I want them. And hit enter. Right click, control vertex. They still kind of did some wonkiness, but this isn't as bad as it could have been, because this lets me easily, there we go. That's not too bad. And you'll notice I always move these in one linear axis before the others. And I do that just so I can keep things clean. And let's go C30V. And let's select so we can have that come out of the sub-object mode. So CV curve tool, you gotta go blow, blow, blow. Hold C and snap it at the very end. Blow. So it's a little bit of cleanup, but it's not the end of the world. Let's drag these guys over here and drag this one right back where it should be at. And let's make this lay down. So I'm looking at these views between the two views, and then also you can be looking at this in perspective to get an idea of what this looks like in 3 dimensions. And I can see this needs to be cleaned up. That's a little bit off. And this one looks like it's a little bit off too. I'll do a little bit of cleanup on this. Just push this in a little bit and push this in as well. Still relatively easy to work with this. Now it'll be easier to get this top part here, so I can go back and create. EP curve tool, hold the C key to snap, and hit enter. And when I come out of that, I'm going to right click, control vertex mode, and then drag these up to where they should be. And just drag this over just a little bit in my top view. So it's right about like that. Right? And hit Q to end process. And what I'm going to do with the rest of this, I'm going to draw my curve right there. So CV curve tool, and grab it. And I'm going to do 1, 2, 3, and then 4. And then in my view, so you have to make sure that you snap your pivot point because it's going to be in some crazy cuckoo place. So that's going to be right, this is like right about here. Now I'm not going to calculate for this piece right here. I'm just going to draw this straight across and get my EP curve and hold down the C key, snap, and it doesn't want to snap to the other side. Let's try doing it from perspective because we can get a better angle on it, right? So let's try doing it from perspective. So hold the C key and snap. There we go. Enter. Hit G to repeat process. Hold down the C key. This here. And there we go. So I've got this kind of outline. So I'm going to go ahead and grab these four and say boundary. Now when your piece of geometry comes in and it's like this where it's black on the facing side, just click on that piece of NURB geometry, go to edit NURBS, and just say reverse surface direction, and there you go. It's just that simple. It really is. Really pretty simple. And boundary. Same thing on this one. So reverse. So that is the same door built with NURBS, and they're all individual pieces. You cannot weld NURBS together the way you would weld together a polygonal shape, but you can attach these together, which is it's pretty much the same thing. It makes one continuous piece of geometry. So I'm going to save because I haven't saved in a while, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how you can attach this. So I'm going to grab all this NURB object right here, drag it up, and I'm just dragging it up so we can see it away from all that stuff. And I'm going to grab this piece and this piece, and I'm going to edit NURBS, and I'm going to say attach surfaces. And I'm going to say that I want to attach surfaces. I don't want to blend them. I just want to connect them, and I don't want to keep the originals. So that's going to get connected together. And then I'm going to hold the next one, and I'm going to connect it together. And the next one, and then the next one, and then the next one. So all that's now connected together as one piece. I'm going to say edit NURBS and say reverse surface. And you can see this is all now one piece of geometry. There we go. It's all one piece, nice and curved shape right there. One thing I probably would go back and do is actually add some more isoparms in here. So I'm going to right click and go to isoparm. And isoparms are really cool. They're just like edges almost when you're dealing with real if you were dealing with polygonal geometry. And I'm just going to hold shift and drag in more isoparms. So you can see the isoparms coming in. So they come off of an edge that's already there. So adding isoparms, I'm going to come in here and say edit NURBS. And I'm going to say insert isoparms. And it adds me those additional isoparms in there. So I'm going to go in here, isoparm, hold shift, drag off 2 isoparms. I'm still holding down the shift key. And I'm going to insert those. What happens by inserting isoparms is that you're able to control your shape even more. Because it's like adding edges in with polygonal geometry. And you could add as many of these as you want. I'm just going to add a couple just to refine some shapes in here. And add isoparm. So I'm just refining some of the shapes. it's still a pretty clean shape. The thing that's really nice about working with NURB objects is this. This is probably the biggest reason why people like to work with NURB objects, and that's doing weird stuff because this still has history on it. So I'm going to go edit, delete all by type, and get rid of all the history for that. So now this is a shape unto itself. It's not funky anymore. So now when I put it back to where it's supposed to go, it all goes back and there's no problems with it. I'm going to center the pivot on it. So I'm going to show you why NURB objects are fantastic to work with. And here we go. So I need to get my window in there, right? I need to get this shape for my window. Well, with the polygonal object, this would be a little daunting. I would have to do a lot of stuff, and I'm going to work on this while I'm talking about this. I would have to do a lot of things to get that door to have the window in it, and for that geometry to still be pretty smooth and be it would be high polygon geometry at that point, because there's a lot of things to get a door cut into a polygonal mesh. There's a lot of things that has to happen, right? But with the NURB object, it's actually pretty simple. What I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here and I'm going to make it where I can't select any curves. So right here at the very top, I'm going to turn on select curve objects and click that to unselect it. So now I can't click anything that's a curve, which is nice, because I can just work with this piece that I have. So I'm just going to clean up some stuff, getting some angles the right way. So just moving around some control vertices and getting some angles to be a little bit cleaner. There we go. And this is just my own anal retentiveness. Like, it's not necessary. It's not going to blow up what we're trying to do with this thing overall. It's just me being completely anal about modeling, which I am, because I love it. So, all right, that's there. That's laying down. What I want to do is I'm going to come in here and select, and I want to draw the shape of this window. So I'm going to draw the shape of this window. And I'm actually going to do that with a NURB circle. And you might be like, why a NURB circle? Well, watch. If I look at this, the NURB circle, if I right click on it and go to control vertex, it's already got control vertices. I'm just going to move these guys to where I want them to get this shape. That's all I'm going to do. It's already closed and everything's already nice and neat with it. And it already kind of has, you know, overall the shape that I need it to have. It's not perfect, but I'm going to show you how to add in more pieces. And that's the reason why I did it this way, so I can show you how to add additional points to a NURB curve. So I'm going to right click on this, and I'm going to go to curve point, and I'm going to put a point here, hold down shift, put a point right here, hold shift, put a point down here, still holding shift. So I'm just holding shift and just clicking in some new points on my NURB curve. So at the end of that, I want to go here to edit curve, and I want to say insert knot. And when I do that, go back in here to control vertex, you can see, look, there's a whole bunch of new control vertices that have been created that I now can use to adjust the shape a little bit better. And that's how you add more points to your curve. Basically, just go to edit, go into your curve point tool. So right click on your curve and go into curve point. So let's see, right click, go to curve point and just left mouse click. And if you want to add multiples, you have to hold down the shift key and then you can add multiples in. They're not real until you go to edit curve and say you want to insert those knots. That's when it becomes real. It actually makes those a part of the model, curve at that point. Until then, it's kind of just showing you where you would create new knots if you were to do the command. So I'm not gonna get super. Yes, I am. I don't know why I don't even know why I'm lying. I'm not gonna get super clean about this, but I am. I'm gonna try to get this as clean as I can, so that I don't have a lot of cleanup to do after the fact. So I'm just getting the shape of that window. That's it. And no, let's put this back to the side. I don't want to. Let's just go back out. So I've got this. Right click on this, select. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold. I have that um, window curve that I just drew created. It's right there. It's selected. I'm going to hold Shift and click on the actual door. And what I want to do is, from my side view, I want to do this in my side view. I'm going to go in it because it depends on what angle you're looking at when you do this operation. I'm going to project this curve. So I'm going to say edit and I'm going to say project curve on surface. Now what you will see in perspective, what it did was it threw this curve onto this surface and it follows it at a complete angle to the actual door, which is really nice. Now, where this becomes powerful is I'm going to click on my NURB object. So click on your NURB object, and I'm going to say Edit NURBS, and I'm going to say Trim Tool. And the Trim Tool activates. I'm going to click over here, and you'll see these lines now become solid. They're no longer these dotted lines like that's left here. And when I hit Enter, look at that. It cuts out where my door goes. Yeah, that just happened. Right? It cut out where my door goes, which is amazing. If I come back in here and grab, let's turn back on to be able to select curves again. If I turn on here and grab this, if I move this, well, look what it's doing to my actual NURB object. It will follow this, right? So that's like a little cutout right there. So that's actually pretty nifty, right? Pretty amazing, because that's cut out of that, and that looks really clean. Now, what I would probably do before I did something like that is I would also want to rebuild my surface, and I'll show you how to do that inside of Maya. So I'm going to go to Edit NURBS, and I can say I want to rebuild my surface. Right now, my surface is uniform. It's 0 to 1. You want to keep it 0 to 1. But the span count, I want to change the span count. So the spans, I'm going to put in more spans. So right now I've got U and I've got V. If I do this on V, do 12 on U, you can see what happens. See that? It gives me that new parameterization that I gave it. Now it's not anywhere as near where I had it before, but some of that's going to get lost, but I can go back and I can fix it. So what I want to do is, now you could do this on just one. So I could say just on the U. So just on the U, see that it gives me just on U and changes only the U. What I will do is I'll do this on V, and you can see, look, it gave me way more lines and stuff on the V. I probably don't need 12 of them. I probably do need like 6 on V. I rebuilt that way. And on the U, let's say I do 30 on the U. And it's not perfect. I don't like that. I'm going to undo that and do 60. And that's okay. It keeps things tight the way I want it to keep it tight. But what that does, and why I wanted to rebuild that in the first place, is that when I go and project this, because I now have more surface to project onto. Right? If I come in here now and go Edit NURBS and say Project Curve on Surface, you see, well, where I have it is a really bad spot, because it's really close to being at the top of it. So I'm gonna pull it down, even though in the real image it's not right here. I'm gonna do it like this and see what kind of projection I get. And let's project this. And see, that's a cleaner projection now. So now when I select my surface and I go in here and say trim tool, I'll just click on the outside of that and then trim it. And you can see my trim is a lot cleaner. My trim is cleaner because I have more geometry in my NURB object when I actually made the trim. So that's one thing to take into mind when you're doing this. So yeah, you can see I cut out that, I trimmed that out. It doesn't match this perfectly, but once I don't have the blueprint behind it, the vehicle's going to look right because the vehicle, this has the right thickness to it. It's just in my drawing, this just looks wrong. It's too thin. So I've got this door made. I pretty much don't have to do anything for the other door except copy this door over. And you can see if I move this around, this will, because it's connected to it still. But the minute that I go in here and say delete by type into history, this is no longer connected to that. Let's make all by type history. So now these two are no longer connected, right? And this has a trim edge now, and this trim edge is right here. And I can still manipulate this and keep moving forward and do more modeling and stuff on this. The NURB stuff it takes a while to get used to, but you can get some fantastic models with NURB objects. NURB objects can be converted into polygonal objects. So it's not like you're stuck one way or the other. So you can take both of those and do it. And I'll show you what this one looks like compared to its polygonal brother. And they look very similar, except this is very faceted still. And you can see this is very faceted because this is very low poly. And this is higher polygons, but you can see it had, you're at a point where you have to have higher polygons to get what you want. And let's see if this will, I don't think it'll actually render. There we go. And you can see this is a lot cleaner, has the nice curves and stuff to it. This needs a lot more. This has to be, I'm probably going to have to smooth this to get this to look as smooth as this. Now, granted, this does have more polygons in it. The NURBS one does have more polygons in it, but I did it with less editing. Like I just had to draw lines to get this high poly model, whereas over here I'm going to have to continue to cut and cut and cut, or actually do a smooth on this to get it smooth. And even when I smooth it, it's going to need some additional work to it. If I came back here and did polygon, and I came in here and said that I want to smooth this, look at that. You can see this kind of just falls apart in some ways. It doesn't stay tight anymore. It needs additional creases and things of that nature to keep it the way that I want it. So that's it. In the next videos, in the coming videos, we will continue to work on our Ferrari Enzo. I've got the door done. I'll show you how to do the hood, how to do the roof, and how to do the wheels with NURBS. And you can choose whichever one of these you want to work with, whether you want to work with NURBS or whether you want to work with polygons. It's up to you, but I'm showing you the tools of the trade for both of them. It's actually going to be pretty simple, pretty easy. And anyway, I will see you in the next video.